really quiet. That was really cool. That was really cool. You guys are very respectful. Again, I am Mark Walters, the event manager of Fan Days. Thank you very much for coming out. We really appreciate you guys being here. I know there's a lot of other stuff going on this weekend, Texas OU weekend. Isn't there a Ranger game today too, or something like that? I don't know. But who cares? Because it's Fan Days, right? I think that this next panel is going to make it all worth it. You know, to me, some of the absolute best interviews that I've ever been a part of or that I've ever heard are interviews with voiceover actors. And so it's really cool that we've got a treat for you guys today because we've got 5 of the coolest voiceover actors from the Clone Wars series. So in no particular order, I'm just going to tell you who all's here. We've got Tom Kane, we've got Meredith Salenger, we've got Eckstein, we've got Catherine Tabor, and Stanton. Let's bring them on up.
Clickety click click.
No photography. I'm just kidding.
Hi.
Hello.
Well, now what?
And scene. Just us?
I think we're just playing it by ear. So
Hi.
There's no moderator.
We're voiceover guys.
Steve
Yeah, we're Steve when we need it.
Does somebody have a microphone out there to ask questions?
Yeah, go down the line.
Shall we introduce ourselves? Yes. Shall we start?
Hi, I'm Stanton, and one of the characters I play on Clone Wars is the evil Captain Tom Kane, and of course the semi-evil, maybe evil Mos Ameda, who always has the Chancellor's ear. So
Very evil.
yes,
From my standpoint.
from her standpoint in the Senate.
I'm Catherine Tabor, and I play mainly Padme Amidala. And I also play Numa in season 1, and the Night Sister Karis, and some other cool ones I can't think of right now.
I am Ashley Eckstein. I do the voice of Ahsoka Tano. And a few incidental characters, not as cool as some of the ones that Kat was just mentioning. I think like a turtle child, some other incidental characters. K2B4 I think was the biggest one. It was O.C. Sobek's droid. Anyway, yeah, that's a cool one. Yeah, it actually stood for Kobe Bryant 24, K2B4.
I'm Meredith Salenger, and I play Padawan Varys Offee, and I also played a naughty girl, Ione Marcy, and I play Shea Manwe, who's Papa Noida's daughter, and then some other people coming up in the next season that you don't know yet. It's a secret.
We could tell you, but then we'd have to kill you. I'm Tom Kane. I'm Yoda. Thank you. Yeah, timing is everything. Right. I'm Yoda and Emperor Yularen, of course, and the opening narrator. The Empire at War as the planet Ryloth falls under attack.
We say Tom is the only one who is in every single episode.
Yeah, I
narrator.
hadn't thought about that until a couple of you pointed out. I'm like, that's true.
That's the best gig of all.
So anyway, well, we got a microphone set up here. If anybody want to ask some questions, that'll sort of help us figure out what you want to talk about. Because we're clueless. Without a script, we're not so good.
I'm enjoying the series very much. The question I had for you is, George Takei was talking about in the last one that when he did the voiceovers, they did them one at a time. Do you guys do yours as a group, or do you yours as one at a time?
Oh my.
We're actually fortunate that we get to do it as a group. Tom, on the other hand, gets to join us every now and then. But from the very beginning, they stressed group records, and which I'm very grateful they did, because we have a lot of dialogue in our show, and I think the relationships are very important, and I don't think we could have established those tight bonds and those tight relationships if we weren't in the same room acting together.
That's much more relationship oriented if you can look at the person and actually have a scene, like you're actually doing a real scene with someone. It's not just, you're not just hearing them through headphones, you can actually look at them and fight with them.
Well, and that's actually a really good example, because when we had those scenes with Ahsoka and Varys, where they're, you know, literally facing death, and you know, they're deciding, hey, we're gonna sacrifice ourselves to save the best. That was a very emotional scene, and I think had we read it separately, I don't think it would have come across the same.
No, I just don't physically live in LA anymore, so it's not possible for me to go there and record the thing. So, in my case though, it really hasn't presented any problems, because the characters I do don't interact that much with the other people in the scenes. I mean, Yoda basically tells people what to do, or he's, you know, dropping witticism or mysticism on somebody. But there's very little back and forth dialogue with Yoda. And the same is true of Admiral Yularen. He's an admiral. He's ordering people around. There's not a whole lot of emotional interplay with Yularen. He's the boss.
And the great thing about when Tom's not there is that sometimes Dave Filoni asks us to try our hand at doing bad Yoda impressions so that we can give somebody has something to read against. So that gets pretty interesting sometimes.
Well, they're always looking for backups, you know.
I have those questions too. One, I wanted to actually ask, is there any other big Yoda episodes coming up?
I believe this season there's a couple that are more Yoda heavy than we have seen recently, and I know that next season there's a fairly important story arc that involves Yoda. So, and we're not even sure how far this thing's going. I mean, we were originally told there were 100 episodes, but we passed that, you know, a month ago in terms of recording. And, for several years to go.
My other one was just a bit of an opinion. If you could all pick one episode, what would be your favorite? Like,
well, for the thing that generated your question, I think from a fan point of view, not just because it's Yoda, I like Ambush. You know, I think a lot of the older fans, that was the most Empire Strikes Back-ish of the episodes that Clone Wars has done in terms of Yoda's personality and stuff like that. So for me, just as a fan, to watch it, that's my favorite one. And doing it also is kind of nice.
Any other favorites?
Citadel Rescue. They gave Tarkin a gun, what can I say?
I like Senate Spy a lot because I like the interaction with Padme and Anakin in that one. I love Rookies because D. Bradley Baker is amazing. And I also always say Innocence of Ryloth, the character of Numa with Waxer and Boyle was just really a great story that I really love.
Yeah, I always say I like the Mortis trilogy. I think the animation in that is stunning. I thought the writing was great. Christian Taylor wrote that three-part story arc, and I thought it was great. And Sam Witwer and Matt Lanter in those episodes, I thought their performances were fantastic. So I thought that was an overall 3 episodes. Those were my favorite.
I liked Brain Invaders, but I got to play 2 sort of different characters in that one. Well, Varys, who's always good and kind, that gets invaded by these brain worms and she has to turn evil. So it was a nice to play dichotomy of characters. I like that one.
I had nightmares after
It's very fun. And my action figure comes with brain worms.
Cool.
From a fan standpoint, do you think that in the season premiere of this season, should have Akbar said it's a trap?
I can say that during the recording session, he did say it many, many times. And we all had a lot of, I think everybody said it. It was a lot of fun, but it was pretty close.
The thing that's kind of funny is, you know, everybody who works on the show, probably for the first time in the Star Wars franchise history, was a fan before they worked on the show. And that's just, you know, timing, that so many years have gone by that there's a whole generation now of people that are artists and writers and actors that were fans first. I mean, Dave Filoni was 1 year before he was directing the Clone Wars, he was dressing up as Plo Koon and going to convention.
And building his own helmet.
So, you know, it's just one of those things where it is a little different, I think. You know, it's a labor of love for us in some ways more than, you know, it might otherwise be. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but I just had to say that.
What's interesting is the actor who plays Akbar, though, his name is Art, and I knew him before. He is probably the biggest probably a bigger Star Wars fan than me. So when he
That's hard to do.
It is hard to do. When he got that part, and I saw him at the session that first day, he was almost in tears. So it was really cool to see this person who was such a fan, and such a fan of such a cool character, you know, such an iconic character that so many people love, to get to bring him to life. He was truly, truly honored, and hopefully, maybe next year he'll be here and you guys can meet him too, because I know he would be really excited to be here.
I came up to him at the premiere, and it was just weird because he was acting weird about me because I'm the older Akbar.
In Star Tours?
In Star
Just rode
Tours.
the new Star Tours ride.
The games and stuff like that. It's a trap! But it was funny because he was like acting all weird, like hoping I would like his Akbar, and I came out of the thing going, like it, dude, you nailed it. I mean, it was flawless. So I was like, you know, went from being a little jealous that they didn't use me to going, okay, his was better. So, but yeah, it was a thrill, you know, because like the old fans like me, to hear anytime there's a tidbit, you know, something original from the movies that they can work in, it's always a big thrill for everybody to hear and to work on, because, you know, it evokes the original films. But the funny part is I've actually had a couple people say that their kids, because of just again timing, this is their Star Wars, and that when they've seen the movies, they think that some of the stuff in the movies came from Clone Wars. So they're like, oh, I heard Yoda say that in one of the Clone Wars episodes. Like, no, actually, they looked at that from there.
I just had a couple of questions. My first question is George still very much in the process of the whole animation and the whole story? And as far as Ahsoka Tano and Anakin Skywalker are concerned, is their relationship going to continue to develop and even deepen on somewhat? It seems like it's getting pretty deep. As far as the development of the characters are concerned. No, not romance or anything. I'm saying as far as Jedi, from Jedi Master to Padawan, you know, is it going to continue to develop? Or?
The relationship between Ahsoka and Anakin? Absolutely. I mean, I think we've seen it from the beginning of the series until now, how much closer they've become. She's very much like, I would say, Anakin's little sister. I mean, I think we've all seen by now, I saw the crazy music videos that were developed in the beginning, you know, where people thought the relationship was more than just purely platonic. But I think we've all seen now just the relationship they've developed is really just like brother-sister, really close. And it'll be interesting, because I say, this is my personal opinion, Ahsoka, I think she would be shocked if she knew what happened in the future. I think she only sees the good in Anakin. I mean, she may question, well, not may question, she does question what, you know, his actions and what he does quite often. But just the thought of him being married to Padme and him turning to the dark side, I don't even think she would believe it. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know what is coming up in the future, but it'll be interesting to see what she does find out, how she reacts. I don't know any of that. I'm like you guys, I'm a fan. I'm anxiously waiting for the scripts to see what happens. But I like the direction it's progressed. And I think what we've seen with Ahsoka is she's become less of a sidekick and more of just one of the gang. Like, I think she seems like less of a Padawan and more like she belongs to be there. So I'll be interested to see, you know, what comes next, because I don't know.
What was the first part of your question? You had something about?
How involved is George Lucas still very much involved in this
absolutely.
process? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not up there. It's like I know. Oh yeah, we were eating lunch the other day. No, I mean, from what I've been told, and
the development of the story.
Yeah, he's in every meeting. He's in the pitch meetings. He's in the story development meetings. He sits there while they're editing. I mean, from what I've been told by Dave and about the people that work on it, he's more involved in Clone Wars than much of anything in years. He really likes this project.
And a lot of times, for me at least, when we have what's called pickups, which will be you go in and there's an episode that's done, but you have to come in and do something either to fix a technical difficulty or to add a line. A lot of times those notes will be directly from George. Like, you know, in this scene, he wanted you to yell more loudly because there's all these spaceships going on. Or, you know, he wanted you to add this into this line because it sounded to this. And so I definitely would say he's really not just overseeing, but very detailed about the vision that we're putting out, which is exciting.
This is for Ms. Eckstein. For your clothing line, Her Universe, I want to first thank you for creating it. As a fan girl, it was, you know, hard growing up. You know, you saw it all in the boys section. And so, are you planning on releasing that to the stores, or is it just going to be online only?
We definitely plan on releasing it to the stores. A fact that many people don't know is the reason we really haven't been in stores yet is because we didn't have the rights to sell in stores. We only had the rights to sell online and at conventions because honestly we had to prove to a lot of people that girls would buy merchandise.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know it sounds silly, but we were met with a lot of skepticism. Lucasfilm was unbelievably supportive. I mean, I can't thank them enough because they gave me an opportunity when nobody else would, frankly. No one else wanted to believe that women would buy sci-fi merchandise, and I kept on laughing at them. I'm like, half of all sci-fi fans are women. Why are you saying we wouldn't buy it? But it was almost like they gave us the opportunity, but we had to prove ourselves. And so that's why, I mean, I just can't thank everyone enough because every single purchase is actually making a statement. It's saying that, okay, women will buy, and that's all we're asking for. We're not trying to say that Star Wars is for girls, or we're not trying to say that sci-fi is for women and it's a girl's world. No, it's for everyone. I mean, all we're asking for is just equal opportunity. So when a guy and a girl walk into Hot Topic and the guys have 5 Star Wars shirts, we'll have an equal amount and made for women, and we don't have to go to the men's section and continue to buy, you know, the same stuff they're buying. Yeah. So we're getting there. I mean, we've only been out about a year and a half. However, we've received lots of interest from retail, certain retail stores. And I think a big thing, I have to thank everyone here that came to Disney Star Wars weekends because Disney gave us an opportunity to sell at Star Wars weekends. And they were so surprised by the amount of women that bought the merchandise that they're going to pick up our merchandise year round. And that's truly because all of the women out there have supported. So the more that the women and the men, because I have to thank all the men out there who are buying for their wives and girlfriends and daughters, we're making a statement and slowly we're getting out there. So it's coming, just it'll take a little while.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate you all being here with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you guys.
Dave's not here, and he can be kind of cagey on his answers, so you don't have to be cagey.
Oh yeah, we do. Dave is watching. He's probably watching live.
We've been told we're not allowed.
Well, you can say this, I would imagine. No spoilers, nothing ahead of time, but I'm curious what you think your characters know. Ashley, does Ahsoka know about Padme and Anakin, or what does she think? Stephen, does Mas Amedda know who is behind the Sith? Does Tarkin later know who Vader is?
Well, I think those are all really great questions. I think, you know, that's part of the reason why these characters have been introduced, so we can start exploring the answers to those, you know, in more detail. I mean, I would kind of like to think that most of these guys are a little bit more in the know than maybe we think they are at the moment. The whole thing with Tarkin, I mean, this gets brought up a lot because there's a scene in episode 4 where, you know, Vader comes to Tarkin in that sort of Death Star conference room there. He's like, you know, my old master is here, I feel it. The Obi-Wan Kenobi, surely he must be dead by now. You know, and it's like, oh, we just said Obi-Wan's name in that scene. It's like, well, he obviously knows who Obi-Wan Kenobi is. Whether he knows the full backstory between those characters, I imagine that's part of what, you know, we're going to find out in Clone Wars. You know, but I think we've got a little bit of a ways to go from Captain Tarkin to Admiral Governor Tarkin of the Death Star. So there's a lot of ground to be explored. And as far as Mas Amedda is concerned, he is an interesting character. Like you were saying, you don't like him, or Padme doesn't
when
like him.
we are recording, that's one of those times it really makes a difference because to me, it's great to be with you when you're playing that character because I feel sort of evilness.
I'm always like, I agree, we should do what she says. It's really, she's right. No, you're right, we should do that. Yeah, I'm on your side. But Dave Filoni has, told me one time, he said, Masameda is kind of a survivor, He's like, whoever's on the winning team, he's suddenly like closer to them, and then it's like all of a sudden than the other person. But yeah, I imagine, I would love to see like an episode that really featured Masameda as, like really, integral to the plot, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. I think it would be a good idea.
Ashley, what's Ahsoka know?
See, I don't think Ahsoka suspects Anakin and Padme. Again, I think maybe that's where Ahsoka shows her age a little bit. And this is just my opinion. Dave may disagree with me. But it's funny because Ahsoka's had to mature a lot. And I think we see most times the mature side of Ahsoka. But then there's moments, and you'll see a couple in season 4 where she truly acts her age. Which she's a teenage girl. And I think one of them is, I don't think she suspects Anakin and Padme. What do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, we talk about this a lot. Like, sometimes I talk about it with James Arnold Taylor and whether or not he feels that he knows something. We've kind of come to the conclusion that C-3PO knows. And that's it. But I think it's interesting as actors because we have to make our own decisions about what we do and don't know.
Yeah, we do discuss that. Because, I mean, we've had a scene where Ahsoka and Padme are talking, and Ahsoka alludes to the fact that her and Anakin are close, but to her, they're just great friends. Yeah. Isn't that nice? And she has, I don't think she realizes it, is my opinion, and we'll see. It'll be interesting at what point her eyes are opened.
Thank you.
And the Empire has the don't ask, don't tell thing, so C-3PO will never say anything.
Yes.
I have a question for Catherine Tabor. You play a lot of Star Wars characters, including Mission Vale, Knights of the Old Republic, Princess Leia in The Force Unleashed, and Padme in Clone Wars. But out of all the Star Wars characters you've ever played, which one's your favorite?
You should be my publicist, first of all. Second of all, I love things about all of them. Mission, because she was my first job. So that was really exciting, and to already be a Star Wars fan and to get to become a part of the universe, little did I know that the rest of this was coming. So I love Mission. It was fun to play Leia, but Padme is the one that's truest to my heart. I always say that I love that she's a lady and she's elegant and can do girly stuff, but she'll pick up a blaster when she needs to. And that's my favorite kind of female character. And why Ahsoka's such a great character too. It shows girls, that you can be tough and get in there and fight when you need to with the boys. And I just love that about Star Wars. So Padme is my ultimate favorite. So I feel really lucky to get to play her. Thank you.
I know Lucasfilm doesn't tell you much, but have you heard them speculate anything about a future Clone Wars film to end the series, like they had one to begin the series?
Well, they talk about everything. Because, you have to understand this, like I said earlier, the original vision that George had was a certain number of episodes, and, but even as amazing as George can be, he can't see the future. He didn't know if the show was going to be a big hit or a flop or, who knows. And they're still developing things. I mean, this is, obviously they're making this all up. They've got a universe of characters that some of which are established and some of which are new, but there's no, hard and firm path. So they sit around and say, well, how do we go from here to here to here to here? Obviously, they do have an anchor at one point that all the lines have to converge to in terms of, how to wrap the Clone Wars up in terms of these storylines, because we know what happens next. But how that's going to happen, I'm telling you truthfully, is not decided. It is a subject of great discussion amongst all of them as to where to go, how to do it. So, there's talk of everything under the sun. They're thinking of showing the final episode on a blimp at the Super Bowl. I mean, who knows?
I also don't think that the first film was intended to be a film originally. I think the Clone Wars was created to be a series, but it was so good it ended up being so beautifully, artistically done, and they turned it into a film because it was just the quality of it seemed a higher caliber than just for television, so it was released as a film. And if they end up doing that for the finale, who knows? But it wasn't intended to be a film. It just
and
is so good it should.
That was Warner Brothers doing. It wasn't even something that came from Lucasfilm or George. Let's make a movie and then turn it into a series. It was a series from the beginning, and it was the Warner Brothers executives that said, "Wow, if we cobble together 3 episodes, we can make a movie out of it," because they thought it was that good. But again, we don't know. We will know shortly before you do, and by shortly I mean however long it takes someone to Twitter it.
Okay, well first of all, I would like to say that her universe statement is about to go on its way to Japan. My best friend lives in Japan, and she really wanted Daddy's Little Girl shirt, so I just ordered it, and it's going to be going to her from my house.
Wow.
So yeah, she was really excited.
Wow, thank you.
So yes, her universe is on its way to Japan.
Oh, it'll ship to Japan, so thank you for doing that.
And my other question was, how did everybody's auditions come about for the film course?
Well, mine came through my agents, which is where I get all my auditions from. And the first character that I auditioned for was Masameda, which was a season 2 episode called The Duchess of Mandalore. And Tarkin pretty much, and the other character that I played pretty much came the same way. They came through auditions with my agent. Of course, they changed these auditions when you get them to, so they don't have like key words and plot points. They're all removed and made into things that don't make any sense. Like, why are we talking about a school bus? It's like, what kind of a character is this? It sounds like medieval something or other, but the security is very high. So, sometimes you get in, you're like, oh, that's what we were talking about. That makes sense now. But everything I've done so far has pretty much come through my agent.
Mine was an audition as well, originally, and I know I've told the story before, but I was pretty new to voiceover, so the casting director didn't have me on her list of people to see, and my agent, my wonderful agent, called and said, no, you have to see her, she is Padme. And so I luckily got in, and then Dave and Henry at the audition said that everybody that was coming in was really good, and they had a lot of great choices, but Dave says that when he heard me say Annie, that they were like, that's our girl. So, and when my agent called to tell me that I got the job, I at first didn't believe her, and I was like, you're kidding me. No, seriously. And screamed really loud and scared my neighbors. So it was a really great, fun experience all around.
They had the exact opposite reaction with me when they heard me read a Padme line. They didn't even let me finish the line. I guess it was that bad. I was halfway through my line, and I knew I wasn't the right fit for Padme. I told my agent, and I'm usually a pretty positive person, but I almost didn't go to the audition because I said, this is just pointless. I just don't sound like her. And he was like, no, just go anyway, you never know. And sure enough, they cut me off halfway through, and I was like, darn it. And luckily, he said, no, you sound way too young to be Padme, but we have this new 14-year-old girl character. And that's how it happened for me. I didn't even know, and they didn't even tell the agents that there was this new character. They just, all the girls that were coming in for Padme, they had them read for Ahsoka as well. So it was, I mean, they were very, very secretive about it. I know I've talked about this, but I didn't know I was playing Ahsoka until I was already cast. So and then they said, oh, by the way, keep it a secret for 2 years.
Mine was the same. I auditioned through my agent. They asked someone, they wanted to see someone with an English accent. As you can tell, I'm not English. And I've been obsessed with doing accents since I was a little girl, and so I was very excited to do Barris as English. And I think also part of the reason why I got it maybe over some other proper English actresses was because when I was a little girl, I did a movie called The Journey of Natty Gann, and it was about a girl and a wolf. And our director, Dave Filoni, is obsessed with wolves. He has like a little wolf dog, and he's just obsessed with wolves. So he, I think, was excited to have me just being with him and work with him. And that was really fun. He's really, he's obsessed with wolves. And then once I did Barris, like we said before, if someone's not in the room when we all work together as a cast, they'll ask another actor in the room. They'll say, "Oh, Yoda's not here today, so Meredith, you be Yoda," or someone will just do it as a joke. And then I always was doing other little accents while we were performing, and so then I was given an Australian girl and then a few other characters just because I was playing around. So the other roles that I got were because I was just being silly in the room.
Okay, it's not being silly though, it's actually quite difficult, it's being talented. Meredith can do almost any voice and any accent and any sound right on the spot, and a lot of people ask how you get into voiceover. Well, that's, you know, perfect example is, you know, Dave would just throw different things at Meredith and she's able to do it on the spot. And so it's not silly, it's talented.
Or silly. Or being silly.
I was kind of grandfathered into the whole thing because I've been doing stuff for Lucas for almost, well, probably 20 years. Back when I started out doing games, back when they were, you know, on floppy disk the size of card tables. Most of the people in the room under the age of, you know, 20 have probably never seen a floppy disk. But, you know, you used to have to put in 15 of them to run a game. But anyway, I was just doing miscellaneous, you know, TIE Fighter Pilot number 3 or Imperial Officer number 2 or something like that. And like we all talk about, you know, you read the lines and you read, and again, it's not trying, you're not really trying to show off. It's just part of the animal we are. You know, it's like I guess it'd be like a football player, you know, not being able to resist picking up a football that he finds on the ground and throwing it to a friend. I mean, it's just what you do. And so we are constantly reading other lines and other characters and trying different voices for it. And sometimes the director or the producer will say, hey, that would actually work for that one. Well, that's kind of the way I was, is I've been doing Yoda for 15 years for games and toys and stuff, and Frank was done, he retired. So they were just like, well, just keep using him. So, and the other thing, the opening narrator and Lauren, the same thing. You know, I had to audition for it like anybody else. They just, you know, they said, read this, and they listened to it and decided who they wanted to use. And sometimes it's not just, you know, as much as I'd love to say on all of our behalfs that we're just so scathingly brilliant about something we do, a lot of times it's just, you know, especially if you're already a major character, I'm not trying to denigrate myself, but I'm sure that part of what got me the narrator and Lauren is the fact that I was already Yoda, and under the rules and regulations of the contract we have for animation, they can use you for 3 voices without having to pay you more. So from a sheer business point of view, they're not going to bring 3 people in to do those 3 characters if Tom can do the other 2. So, you know, I'm honest enough to admit there might have been a much better narrator out there, but they're going, yeah, but Tom does it, it's free. Tell him to do the scrubbing bubbles guy.
You do have to be careful when making errant noises, and I did a funny sound during one of my sessions. Like, oh, who did that? Like, it was Steven's like, oh yeah, you're going to do that now?
Yeah.
It's character for that thing you're doing. I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
So with there being so much Star Wars out there between games, comics, whatever else, how does that kind of work with the story? I mean, it seems kind of like a minefield to kind of trudge through, so you don't mess up someone's history. And then also if there was any characters from those things, either movies, whatever else that you guys want to play, that you can play.
Well, I can tell you one character that would be interesting to play, but I don't know if he really has any dialogue. That's Lobot. Yeah. I just think that guy is so cool, and you know, he's just a really interesting character. As far as the story goes, I mean, we get a lot of. They give us a big prep and pep talk before each. I remember the very first episode that I was in. It was in, I think it was the Duchess of Mandalore, which was part of a multi-story arc in season 2. I didn't know what was going on at all. I mean, the episodes that they had worked on prior to me showing up hadn't been aired because it was the next season. So I'm sitting there trying to wrap my head around this thing. It's like, thank goodness, you know, Dave Filoni came out and said, all right, here's the way this whole thing works. You're doing this, you're doing that, this guy's doing this, he hates her because of this, that, and the other. Like,
it's kind of a good day.
But it was difficult to keep up, but I mean, they do take a lot of care about making sure the storylines aren't crossed, things like that.
And that does not fall, the responsibility does not fall to us, thankfully.
Yeah.
So we just come in and like you said, Dave gives us a big rundown about what's happening and why. And not just logistically, but you know, sometimes he'll pull me aside, and I know he's done this with Ashley, to talk about the emotional reasons that your character is doing something, and and really get in deeper to it. But we don't have any of that real responsibility. They oversee us, and I want to play Jane solo. So.
Yeah.
I've done Leia and Padme, so I want to Jane solo.
Wow.
Well, my 2 cents is that, like I said earlier, this is the first project, probably, certainly of its size, that's staffed from top to bottom by fans. So there is, you wouldn't believe the level of knowledge that someone like Dave Filoni has about Star Wars. I mean, I've never encountered anything ever that he doesn't know. And other people involved are the same way. So if anybody proposes something at a writer's meeting or a plot meeting or whatever that's going to cause problems with the expanded universe or whatever, then someone is going to immediately go, ah! So I'm sure that occurs a lot, but not for us. It's already settled long before we get involved.
I would like you guys to do your voices.
Well, I'm Captain Wilhuff Tarkin, future commander of the Death Star, and I'm also Masameda, the Chancellor's right-hand man, and sort of I'd still call myself a semi-evil doer.
And I will say, Anakin, ever since I met you, you've been playing with droids.
It's a Wookiee. Loyal Padawan bears Orphy at your service.
Just be by my side, do you?
General Kenobi, you must control your Padawan. She's a royal pain in the... and of course, Empire at War, as the scrubbing bubbles clean up the Death Star's toilets.
And we can hear you.
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Thank you. Of all the characters on the show, which is your favorite?
My favorite is Cad Bane. He's bad.